Hi there. Welcome to this lecture series on matrix algebra. This is lecture 8, part 2. We continue our discussion on linear map. Here we will talk about the composition of maps and also some more properties of linear maps and more examples. Okay, let's get started. Okay, and let's look at the composition of linear maps, and then we'll associate this with the matrix multiplied by matrix. Okay, so let's say we have three spaces, Rn and Rp and Rq. So n and p and q are three integers, and the element in them we are calling this x, and this we call y in the Rp, and we call it z in the Rq space. Okay, and then we want to do the linear map. So y is now a times x, so it takes a Rn maps to Rp, the a. And then for z here is computed as b times y. So take an element in Rp and then the B matrix and then transform it into Rq. Okay, so we see that here the matrix A has to be a P times N matrix to perform this product. And then the matrix B would be a Q times P matrix. So here we can define now a composed map, and an element x in Rn will correspond to a element in Rq through these two mappings. So first it will be mapped to the Rp, we call this element y, and then it's mapped again to Rq, and that's the element z. Okay, so this composed mapping will relate to actually the product of the matrix B times A. So here we can write it as this. So z now is B times y, right? And then what is y? Well, y is A times x. And then we see that this product, we could take whichever product first without changing the order of the product, but the operation. So we can do B times A first, which we get a new matrix, and then times x. So this becomes the composite mapping. Okay, so let's be careful here. The size of the matrices, the sizes, they must be matching. So this B here is Q times P, and the A here is P times N, and then the B times A here will be Q times N, and X is N times 1, and Z will be Q times 1. Okay, we can take an example. So we have a linear transformation from X to Y through an AX, which does this. It takes X values X1 and X2 to form Y. Y has three elements. And the second transformation is transforming from y to z by this matrix product, b times y, and follows this rule. Okay, so we can recover the matrices A and B by just collecting the coefficients and put them in the corresponding position. And we'll get A to be this, 2, 1, 0, 3, and 1, negative 1 here. And then the same for B. B is now a 2 times 3 matrix, and then 0, 1, negative 1 here, 1, 1, negative 4 here. And if we want to find out the composed map from X to Z, then this will be the map B times A times X. So there's the product B times A, and it's a new matrix. Okay, so Z1, Z2 now will be B times A apply to x1 and x2. So one can work out the product B times A, which will be a 2 by 2 matrix if you work out the numbers, and this is what you will get. And then that's the composite transformation. Okay, so one important concept that we encountered here is we called a mapping is linear. Let's take a closer look at it. So here, let's recall the definition for a linear map. Okay, so what it says is that the mapping of a scalar multiple of an element equals now the scalar multiple of the mapping of that element. And then if you have two, so the mapping of the sum of two elements equals to the sum of the mapping of each element. So naturally, some mappings will be linear and some might not be. Okay, so first let's take a look at nonlinear transformations. Let's denote x and x prime to be two elements. So don't be bothered by the prime. It doesn't mean the derivative. It's just another number. Okay, so this is a vector and this is another vector, and c here is just a scalar number. Let's look at the map t of x, which equals x1 plus 1 and x2. So the second element doesn't change, and the first element is x1. You add 1 on top. Is this a linear transformation? Let's verify. So let's multiply x with a scalar number c. So cx would be the vector cx1 and cx2 here, right? And then you perform the transformation. Then the first element becomes cx1 plus 1, because that's the transformation, and the second one is cx2. So we want to verify if this equal to the scalar multiple of the transformation of the x. So c of t times x, what is that? So let's keep the c outside and write out t times x, which is this vector here. And that's a vector, and multiply by the scalar number will be, we can multiply c on each. So I'll have cx1 plus c here, and here is cx2. So comparing this to that, are they the same? No, they're not in general. For a general c, this is not the same. So it doesn't satisfy the first condition for a linear transformation. Well, we can also easily verify the second one. So the transformation of the sum x plus x prime, well, it would be the first element would be x1 plus x1 prime plus 1, right? Transformation is adding 1 to the first element. And the second element will be the second element of this vector, which is here. Okay, and then now we can transform each of these and then add them up to see what we get. So t of x is that. T of x prime is you transform x prime. So it's the same thing, but you replace x with x prime. Then I add these two up. Well, in this just a vector summation, you add up element-wise. So you get x1 plus x1 prime plus the 1 plus 1 here, you get 2. And down here is x2 plus x2 prime. Now let's compare this to this expression that we computed earlier. Are they the same? Because a linear transformation will require these two to be the same. And we see that we have 1 here and we have 2 here, and they are not the same. So it doesn't equal to that. And therefore, this is not a linear transformation. Okay, let's take a look at a second example, which is a more obvious one. So the transformation takes the form t of x would equal to x1 squared. The first element I square it, and the second element I keep. Okay, so can this be a linear transformation? Well, let's check the first property. If I multiply x by c, this will be cx1 and cx2, a vector. Then the transformation will take square of the first one, so I'll have c x1 square and cx2. Okay, if you distribute the square, you will get c square and x1 square. Okay, and then let's check c times the transformation. So which means is c times this transformation, which is just this guy here. Now I'll do a scalar multiple of c. I get c x1 squared and cx2. Is this the same as that one? Well, in general, for any x, this is not, right? So you get c here and you get c squared here. They're not equal to each other. So it doesn't. Therefore, the transformation is not linear. Okay, another example, also kind of obvious. The transformation will be taking sign of the first element and keep the second one. Okay, we can pick any of the two properties for linear transformation to verify. So let's take the second one. Let's compute the sum and then transform the sum. So the sum here would be x1 plus x1 prime and then x2 plus x2 prime. And then the first element is sine of that. That's the transformation. And the second element we copy. Okay, and now we want to transform each first and then add them up. So t of x will be this here, making the first element take sine of it. And then the second t x prime will be also sine of x1 prime, and copy it. And these two add up, you will have x2 plus x2 prime in the second position, and the first one will be sine x plus sine x1 prime. And this does not equal to sine of x1 plus x1 prime. Therefore, it doesn't equal that. Okay, so these two in general are not the same, and therefore it's not a linear transformation. So we see that this linear transformation, the two conditions are actually rather picky and very particular. It only allows you to take very specific types of terms in the expression. And in fact, that all linear mappings from, let's say, Rn to Rm, that's a general space, and y equal to t of x, it's any linear mapping from Rn to Rm must be of the following type. That is, the element y must equal to this expression, that is a number times certain element of x. And you can add them up, but each term must be of this form. Even if you add a constant like a 1 on it, it's not. It's going to make it nonlinear. Okay, so this one here, we see that we can write it as a matrix A times a vector x. So all linear mappings from Rn to Rm can be represented by a matrix A of all numbers times the x vector. Okay, let's throw in some fancy terminology. So all these entrants on the right hand side, these ones, they are called homogeneous polynomials of degree 1 in the variables x1, x2 to xn. Okay, let's take some examples, some homework type of problems that we could encounter. Okay, so let's see, we want to find our linear map if we know certain properties of it. So let's say there is a linear map T from R2 to R2, and it acts as follows with the two examples. If you put in 1, 1, the transformation gives you 2, -3. And if you put in 1, -1, the transformation gives you 0, 1. And I want you to find the corresponding matrix A. Let's say it's A, B, and C, D for this matrix. So how would you do that? There are several ways of solving this little problem, of course. So one way would be I will just write out the 4 equations for these 4 coefficients A, B, C, D by using the 2 given statements here. So the first one, A times 1, 1 should be 2, -3, right? And we write out the left-hand side. I will have A plus B is 2, C plus B is, D is -3. And then the second one, putting 1, -1 here, I should get 0, 1. So we have these 2 equations, and write it out will be A minus B is 0, and C minus D is 1. So we have 4 linear equations and 4 unknowns, and we can go about and solve it. Okay, and if you solve this, and then you'll find out A and B are 1, C is -1, and D is -2. So another way to solve this was to use the knowledge that the columns of the A matrix would be the images of these 2 unit vector. So we'll try to find these 2. And then we'll use the property that these are linear maps. Okay? So how do I find 2, 0, for example, if I want to find the mapping of 2, 0? Well, I see that if I add these two vectors up, which is these 2 vectors, I'll exactly get 2, 0. So it equals that. And then by linear mapping property, this would equal to the transformation of each of them and then add up. Okay? And then the transformation of each of these we know is exactly these 2. So we put them here and then work out the summation of these 2 vectors. I get this. Then I see that this is almost this guy, except that there is a scalar multiple. So I can take that out. So the unit vector will be this vector here multiplied by half. And then I can use the linear property and put the half outside times this map. And then this one is just up here, we just compute it. And multiply each element by half, I get 1, -1. Okay, to find the image of the second unit vector here, we notice that if I take this vector, subtract this vector, I'll get 0, 2. So T of 0, 2 will be T of this minus that. And then I can use the linear property and take transform of each. And then the transform of the first is 2, -3. Transform of the second is 0, 1, which we have. And then carry out the subtraction, I get 2, -4. And then to get the image of the second unit vector, I see that I just need to divide this by 2. Okay, and that's what I do. So T of 0, 1 is this result divided by 2. So divided by 2, I get 1, -2. And therefore, we know that these 2 here are the 2 column vectors in the A matrix. And we can collect them and form our A matrix, the column 1 and the column 2. Okay, so that's all for today. And next time we will take a closer look at all these vectors and introduce the concept of the vector space and related definitions and properties. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.